Thanks so much to the BioInnovations Midwest team for organizing such an amazing community of stakeholders. Nice. Thank you. And also for organizing an event in Omaha. I spend a lot of time in the Midwest looking at facilities, and I love the notion of community building next door to where the heart of biomanufacturing will be in the future. I'm Kelsey Weimer. I lead up development partnerships at Synonym, where we focus on, sorry, I'm going to take a breath. I'm a really nervous public speaker. Where we focus on building and financing biomanufacturing infrastructure. I spend a lot of time talking to people about what we do, but I don't often get an opportunity to talk about how we do it, so I'm excited to share a little bit of our thesis with you guys today. Nice. We're all here because we believe that the future is going to be biological. Synthetic biology is already touching every corner of the economy, from food and beverage to materials, textiles, beauty and personal care products, chemicals. Many of you in the room today are creating the amazing strains and process technologies that are enabling that product development. Nice. And if we're all successful, we Synonym co-authored a report with BCG this past spring to investigate the potential scale and scope of the emerging bioeconomy, and we believe that in the next 10 to 15 years, it has the potential to unlock between 200 and 300 billion in market value. And to translate that into and that's really going to be mostly across high volume industrial segments like food and chemicals. And a lot of that current and projected growth is really being driven by decreases in the cost of developing and producing products using synthetic biology. Nice, thank you. Which is being driven by technology advancements such as AI, DNA synthesis, gene editing. I'm going to stop talking about technologies that you all know more than me about. But also by strong stakeholder leadership and innovation. So we've seen governments from around the world start to recognize the importance of synthetic biology to national security and economic competitiveness. In the US alone, we see a lot of bipartisan support from federal agencies and Congress. So for example, under the CHIPS and Science Act, the Department of Commerce got funding to stand up a tech hubs program. And Synonym is excited to be a part of a tech hub in central Illinois called IFAB that's building fermentation and scale-up infrastructure. The Department of Defense, too, has listed biotechnology as one of their 14 critical technology areas and is starting to deploy significant capital into supporting the space and, in particular, infrastructure build-out. There's a recent program called the Defense Bioindustrial Manufacturing Program that's awarded tens of millions of dollars to 30-plus companies to do infrastructure development planning with potential follow-on support to actually build out factories. So we're excited to see some of that support, but also, of course, corporate commitments to sustainable materials and the economies of scale that purchasing power represents. Speaking of scale, if we're going to realize that 200 to 300 billion in market value, we're going to need significant growth and capacity, something to the tune of 3 billion net new liters of biomanufacturing capacity that's going to need to be built over the next 15 years or so. And to translate that to dollar terms, that represents an annual capital investment of between 40 to 60 billion dollars. To date, fermentation infrastructure or biomanufacturing infrastructure has been built out mostly on corporate balance sheets, by some CMOs and small businesses, and by very patient venture investors who are supporting startups and building first-of-a-kind infrastructure projects. But that's not going to be scalable when you're talking about tens of billions of dollars a year. Synonym's solution to that is to leverage institutional investment to help finance an infrastructure build-out for biomanufacturing. But when you're talking about unlocking private equity infrastructure-type capital solutions, you really need to bring biomanufacturing into their risk tolerance and risk profile. So it needs to look a little bit more like some of these other real asset-heavy emerging technology classes like batteries, solar, data centers. Which is to say, biomanufacturing needs to become a new asset class. And asset classes are interesting in that they have a lot of maybe homogeneous properties. They have stable, understood, characterized return profiles. They have liquid exit markets. Renewable energy is an interesting case study. the underlying product that's produced there is power, of course. It's one of the most fungible commodities. Somewhere somebody needs power for something. And so in that market, you can get 20-year power purchase agreements. And so you really bring down the commercial risk profile of a project. That's not true in biomanufacturing when you're talking about potentially thousands of products being sold into diverse end markets that have very different contracting dynamics. Maybe you will get a 6-month rolling commitment from Walmart. And that's not sufficient to bring down the risk profile for investors. And so I think that biomanufacturing can take a page from data centers playbook. Data centers are built to be modular, kind of plug and play infrastructure. Bring your own server, plug it in, and we're ready to rock. The core and shell works for a variety of different companies. And so that's what we spend a lot of time thinking about at Synonym is how do we use standardization, modular design to make biomanufacturing a new asset class. Synonym focuses right now on microbial fermentation as one of the kind of most mature process technologies within the bioeconomy. Our engineering team has spent 2 years iteratively creating a kind of design basis that you can scale up or down depending on the project configuration you're looking at that meets the needs of 70% of processes in the market today. And we validated that. Synonym has 2 digital tools called Capacitor and Scaler. One's a CMO database, one's an online techno-economic modeling tool. And we use kind of industry needs as represented by those tools to influence our designs. And so what standardization accomplishes, I guess I missed this on a previous slide, is part of what makes institutional investors nervous about investing in biomanufacturing is that purpose-built facilities have a lot of horror stories. So maybe a lot of you are familiar, maybe some of you even worked at Weimer, which built a $140 million succinic acid facility in Sarnia, Canada. And then the market moved to China for succinic acid, and then the facility, Weimer went bankrupt, and the facility sold for just over $4 million. And what that says to institutional investors is that purpose-built facilities don't retain value, and they don't want to take on that kind of single company, single product risk, especially in markets that they don't understand or markets that are as diverse as there are in the bioeconomy. And when you offer an institutional investor a standardized facility, what you're saying is, this is just generic infrastructure for the bioeconomy. Any company that's successful in this space, or most companies, can use it with minimal retooling, time, and cost. And we know that standardization is a maybe controversial topic. Our engineering team spends a lot of time thinking about the trade-offs between increasing repurposability, the added capital cost, the lower cost of capital, the capital efficiencies you get to make sure that every design decision we make results in a net capital savings. But also there's some things that aren't standardizable, like downstream processing is still relatively heterogeneous across different companies, and so where we can't standardize, we modularize so that we can reduce retooling costs and lead times when you talk about a distress scenario. You need to turn the asset over and put someone else in there. Standardization doesn't just solve problems for institutional investors. It also leads to potential capital savings for companies, which results in lower costs of production on a per unit basis. So if you can save money by reusing your engineering designs and you're ordering a bunch of the same tanks and you can get economies of scale during procurement, and your project risk is lower and so your cost of capital is lower, all of those things impact cost of production for some bio-innovators. And our mission at Synonym is to really bring down the cost of infrastructure so that you can bring down the cost of production and enable mass market adoption at commercially viable price points. Ooh, fun. So even if conceptually you could create a project, you could create standardization where a facility is 100% standardized, works for 100% in processes in the market. In theory, you still need to develop bankable project profiles on an individual basis. And that requires, I think, was it Kelly was saying earlier, like a lot of diverse work streams to come together. And so that's really, in addition to kind of standardizing engineering designs and principles, the platform that Synonym is building is trying to check all of these 6 boxes that are really crucial to project success and really unlocking institutional investment. So you need high TRL technologies that can produce at sustainable price points consistently. That's you all. You need demand. You need creditworthy off-takers willing to buy large quantities of product at fixed price points that enable bankable project economics. And you need that contract duration to be long. It might not be a 20-year power purchase agreement, but you need to have a good strategic partner there. You need sites with a lot of utilities that are close to feedstock with really strong workforces. Synonym has been building a database of on and off market greenfield and brownfield sites for commercial scale biomanufacturing infrastructure to help accelerate site identification. Because dextrose is currently the feedstock of choice in the industry, we also have relationships with all of the major corn wet millers to evaluate co-location partnership opportunities. In fact, our IFAB project, the consortium, the tech hub I mentioned earlier, is a joint venture with Primient, and we're really excited to see feedstock providers being proactive and strategic in the space. ADM is also building scale-up infrastructure as part of that tech hub. You also need capital. We're talking about creating a new asset class, and not every investor is going to be a first mover in that space. Core infra is going to sit on the bench for a little while. So Synonym has spent a lot of time segmenting the institutional investor landscape and forming a network of folks who are eager to invest in some of these first commercial projects. We also have a growing database of government funding opportunities that we apply for on behalf of the projects we deliver, because accessing catalytic lower cost capital has a really big impact on project economics and investor interest. You need really good engineering and construction firms. Synonym has an in-house engineering team, but they really focus on upfront conceptual design so that we can iterate with product companies on what the best facility configuration is for them. And then our engineers manage engineers on a go-forward basis. But multi-hundred-million-dollar capital projects require hundreds of new engineering and construction roles. And so we really manage that process, but you need good partners there. And so Synonym has issued a dozen RFPs to firms to evaluate their strengths. We're really testing out engineering teams through 4 active projects. We're putting master service agreements in place so that we can expedite engineering mobilization for project delivery. And last, but probably most important and most complicated, is you need best-in-class operations to keep to start up the facility and keep it operating at peak performance on a go-forward basis. Synonym has a catalog of templates to facilitate facility startup, so standard operating procedures, IT policies, risk mitigation plans, those sorts of things. As part of the IFAB consortium, again, we're partnered with IBRL on a workforce development and training program to get production operators, lab techs, hands-on experience with equipment, tech transfer, process development, that kind of stuff. And also our joint venture with Primient, the facility I keep mentioning, is a demonstration scale-up facility, and so that'll be a great venue for workforce development as well. And so what I'm really trying to say is project development is really hard and it's very complicated. Financing is critical but not sufficient to delivering a successful project, and so what Synonym is building is a platform where we are pulling together the multiple different work streams in project delivery and hoping humbly to make it faster and cheaper and less complex each time to build these facilities. So if you're a technology developer and you're thinking about building a facility, we'd love to chat. If you're pretty early in your scale-up journey, we're also committed to helping companies get to commercial readiness faster. So if you need a TEA, FEL1 engineering package, if you need to find a CMO, come chat with us. If you're a bioproduct buyer and you're interested in evaluating a technology or finding a bio alternative to a problematic product in your supply chain, we'd love to chat with you. We have a whole database of bioproducts scored by tech readiness, and we've done a lot of techno-economic modeling work, so maybe we can help accelerate product identification and partnership opportunities. And if you're an investor, I'm not sure that there's any PE funds in the room, but we'd love to chat with you about how we think about biomanufacturing as an asset class. And if you're a public funder interested in exploring catalytic funding solutions together, we'd love to chat.